Everyone remembers Bo Derek for her iconic braided hair and irresistible allure in 10, but few know how her real relationship with director John Derek began, steeped in controversy. From an unknown teenage girl to Hollywood's ultimate sex symbol, what did Bo truly endure behind the camera? And why is she only now revealing the truth from behind those famous scenes? These never-before-seen photos will leave you stunned. Don't miss this video if you want to uncover what Hollywood tried to keep hidden. Bo Derek, whose real name is Mary Kathleen Collins, was born on November 20th, 1956 in Long Beach, California. Her father was a boat builder, and her mother worked as a makeup artist for Hollywood stars. Bo's childhood was shaped by the ocean. She spent more time riding the waves than sitting in a classroom. In the mind of that teenage girl, the future seemed ordinary. A simple life, running a small surfboard shop by the beach. But fate had other plans for her. One day, while Bo's mother was doing makeup for the famous actress Anne Margaret, the Hollywood icon noticed something special about the makeup artist's young daughter. "That girl has a movie face," Anne Margaret remarked. That single comment opened the door to Bo's very first screen test with director John Derek, a 46-year-old man searching for the leading actress in his film Once Upon a Love. Bo was only 16 at the time. The film was shot in Greece, a beautiful island where the Mediterranean sun and wind make everything magical. But behind that poetic appearance is a story that borders on cinema and morality. Once Upon a Love tells the story of a young girl falling in love with her foster brother, a plot full of metaphors about temptation and taboo. Under the lens of John Derek, Bo appears in daring, sensitive scenes, even though she is still underage. During the filming, John, a man who was once a handsome actor, began to fall in love with this young girl. The problem is his wife, actress Linda Evans, was also present on the set. Linda quickly noticed the change in her husband's eyes. On Christmas Day that year, she packed her bags, left Greece, and filed for divorce. John, no longer hiding anything, publicly declared his love for Bo, who had just turned 16. The story quickly turned into a scandal when the press smelled an illegal relationship. Instead of returning to the U.S., the couple fled to Europe, where the laws were less strict with their love. Bo dropped out of high school, living as a real adult in Germany. She did not care about fame, did not think about the future, only knew that she was in love. But the world was not easy to forgive. John's agent in the U.S. knew that if they returned, this director would be prosecuted for having sex with a minor. The two decided to stay in Europe, both to avoid the law and to edit the unfinished film. When the money ran out, they could not pay the lab to process the film, and Once Upon a Love was confiscated, locked in storage forever. The work was never released, and for Bo, that was the end of her early cinematic dream. However, strangely, she has no regrets. "I don't know if I loved John because of him or because of the way he made me feel special," Bo later said in an interview. Perhaps at 16, the feeling of being chosen blinded her. When Bo turned 18, John decided it was time to return to America. But the fear of being arrested still loomed large. He came up with a strange plan. Bo would fly straight back to the U.S. first, while he took a detour through Mexico and crossed the border by land. Everything went smoothly. They reunited, and just a few months later, on June 10, 1976, Bo became Bo Derek, the fourth wife of John Derek. But this marriage was no fairy tale. Bo gradually realized a cold truth. John had a specific type of woman, blonde, young, sensual, and easily molded. Before Bo, there had been Ursula Andress, the first Bond girl and a global sex symbol. Then Linda Evans, the glamorous star of Dynasty. Now it was Bo's turn. A girl barely stepping into adulthood, becoming his next creation. Bo also had to adjust to her role as a stepmother. Even though John's children were older than she was in their home, Bo was not just a wife, but also a muse and the model in front of her husband's lens. John controlled every aspect of her career and public image, from her hairstyle and clothes to how she appeared in front of the media. Under his direction, Bo was transformed from an unknown beach girl into a global sex symbol with long blonde braids, dreamy eyes, and a sensual aura that made all of Hollywood take notice. The first movie Bo ever appeared in, a project directed by her husband, John Derek, was never released in Germany due to a ban. But Bo didn't give up. She kept searching for new opportunities, and luck finally smiled on her when she landed a role in Orca, directed by Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michael Anderson. Though the film was intended to rival Jaws, Orca quickly sank under harsh criticism. Reviewers dismissed it as nothing more than a poor imitation of the shark classic. Bo had only a small part, but she caught attention with a memorable scene where her leg was bitten off by a killer whale. The movie earned a modest box office return, yet Bo's name still didn't stick with audiences. When John Derek began filming Love You, he decided not to cast Bo because the story was too sexually explicit. Still, Bo stayed close. She appeared on set every day, not as an actress, but as a producer, a quiet companion who supported him behind the scenes. The world of cinema had yet to fully open its doors to her, but Bo never seemed discouraged. She waited patiently for the right moment to shine. That moment came in 1979, when legendary director Blake Edwards, the man behind Breakfast at Tiffany's, was searching for the perfect woman for his upcoming film 10. The story followed a man obsessed with ideal beauty, a woman who could drive men crazy. Edwards had auditioned several actresses, including Melanie Griffith, Heather Thomas, and Tanya Roberts, but none felt right. Then Bo Derek walked into the room. Her first words to the director were humble. "I'm sorry if I'm wasting your time." But within seconds, both Edwards and the producer were captivated. Bo's beauty wasn't something that could be described. It was both natural and almost otherworldly. All they could hope for was that she could act at least a little, and she did. Bo delivered her lines with such genuine simplicity that Edwards exclaimed he had finally found his perfect 10, the woman who would make every man in the world dream. In 10, Bo played Jenny Hanley, a young woman who enters a romantic relationship with a man 2 decades older. The story seemed to mirror her real-life relationship with John Derek, but Bo didn't pay much attention to that. For her, filming in Mexico was far more exciting than any script. She treated the project like a vacation, unaware that just a few months later, it would turn her into a global icon. The styling team decided to do something no one had tried before. They braided Bo's hair into cornrows, a traditional African hairstyle. The process took nearly 8 hours, and Bo thought it was just an interesting detail. But when 10 premiered, that hairstyle became a sensation. Bo Derek transformed into the beach goddess of the 1980s, and the cornrows became inseparable from her image for years to come. However, fame came with controversy. She was criticized for cultural appropriation, yet some women actually thanked her. One of them was Renee Rogers, an American Airlines employee who had once been banned from wearing cornrows because they were deemed unprofessional. After Bo appeared in 10, Renee sued the airline to defend her right to express her cultural identity. And ironically, Bo Derek's name appeared in the legal case as proof that even a white woman could wear that hairstyle on the big screen. Even before 10 hit theaters, Bo had begun filming her next project, A Change of Seasons, alongside 2 major stars, Shirley M. Lan and Anthony Hopkins. But the set was troubled. The director was replaced, and the lead actors didn't get along. Bo quietly focused on doing her job. The film was still in post-production when 10 premiered and everything changed. 10 became a huge success, captivating audiences everywhere and propelling Bo Derek into the spotlight as Hollywood's newest rising star. The year 1979 marked a major turning point in Bo Derek's career. She was nominated for a Golden Globe in the New Star of the Year category alongside icons like Mia Farrow, Diana Ross, and Ursula Andress, John Derek's famous ex-wife, though the award ultimately went to Bo. Midler for the Rose, Bo was the one everyone talked about. After that success, the producers of A Change of Seasons realized they were sitting on a gold mine. Even though the film was already complete, they asked Bo Derek and Anthony Hopkins to reshoot a hot tub scene just to make audiences sweat a little more. But no matter how sensual that scene was, it couldn't save the film's weak script. Critics slammed it as a pale imitation of Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. Ironically, that same year, Hollywood launched the Golden Raspberry Awards, celebrating the worst in film. A Change of Seasons earned 3 nominations, though Bo Derek herself was spared. But trouble didn't end there. A film she and John Derek had shot years earlier, Once Upon a Love, which had been locked away in a German vault, was suddenly bought and released under a new title, Fantasies. The producers wanted to cash in on Bo's newfound fame. Despite Bo and Jay's attempts to block the release, they failed. The movie became a stain on their careers, something Bo later called a nightmare from the past. To salvage her plummeting reputation, John Derek decided to turn his wife into a female Tarzan. He directed Tarzan, the ape man with a bizarre twist. The story would not focus on Tarzan himself, but on the daughter of the man who discovered him. Naturally, Bo Derek was the centerpiece. But once filming began, chaos erupted. Strange rumors spread that a chimp named CJ on set had a crush on Bo, or that an African lion named Neil broke free to protect her from the male lead. However, the real danger came from behind the camera. Like John's earlier works, Tarzan the Ape Man was filled with eroticism. Bo appeared in numerous semi-nude jungle scenes, often pushing the boundaries of artistic decency. One particularly controversial sequence, in which her character shared an overly intimate moment with a chimp, outraged both audiences and censors. The heirs of Edgar Rice Burroughs, author of the original Tarzan, quickly intervened after hearing about it. They sent letters demanding production be halted and the film banned, accusing the filmmakers of insulting the spirit of the original work. Although the movie eventually made it to theaters, the crew was forced to cut 3 of its most daring minutes before release. When Tarzan the Ape Man was released, Bo Derek seemed to be entering the golden age of her career, but in reality, it marked the beginning of a long, bitter downfall. The film was torn apart by critics. Many newspapers ranked it among the worst movies of all time. One critic wrote with biting sarcasm, "A film directed with absolutely no talent by John Derek." Still, audiences flocked to theaters. Bo Derek's name, the sexy star who had captivated America in 10, was enough to push the film to #1 at the box office, earning $6 million in its first week. But that success was an illusion. Tarzan the Ape Man received 6 Golden Raspberry nominations, including Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Actress, the latter honor going to Bo herself. You'd think that kind of humiliation would be a wake-up call, but Bo and her husband, director John Derek, sank even deeper into their delusions. The pair returned with Bolero, a project named after the same Rel piece featured in 10. They claimed the title was a coincidence, inspired by the lead character's bolero hat. But what went on behind the scenes was anything but innocent. By then, in his 50s, John Derek sparked outrage by casting Olivia DeBeau, a girl just 14 years old, as Bose's co-star. He had met Olivia when she was only 13 and bluntly asked if she'd be willing to appear nude. When she said yes, he immediately gave her the role, despite the unease it caused in the industry. There was no proof of any inappropriate relationship, but John's method of casting disgusted many. When Bolero was finally completed, the ratings board refused to approve it for release. The film was deemed too explicit, filled with sex scenes and graphic nudity. It was eventually released unrated, a rarity for a mainstream Hollywood film at the time. Rumors spread that some of the love scenes were real. Instead of intrigue, it sparked ridicule. Critics called Bolero a cinematic nightmare, and audiences stayed away. Bo Derek won big again, sweeping the Razzies for Worst Actress and even being crowned Worst Actress of the Decade. From Hollywood's golden girl to a symbol of failure, Bose's career spiraled. Every film she made with John Derek flopped, and the industry mocked them both. Many believed John had dragged her down because before meeting him, Bo had golden opportunities, offers from The Naked Gun, the James Bond film A View to a Kill, and even King Kong, 1976. She turned them all down, choosing instead to stay within the small world John had built around her. Behind her glamorous image, Bo carried deep guilt. She later admitted she felt responsible for the heartbreak of John's ex-wife, actress Linda Evans, calling her a beautiful woman inside and out. Surprisingly, Evans never blamed Bo. She understood that the real puppeteer in both Bose's personal life and career was John Derek, and despite everything, Bo never fully resented her husband. In later interviews, she said she felt lucky never to have been exploited by predatory directors like so many actresses of her era simply because they all feared John Derek. He controlled her, yes, but in his own twisted way, he also protected her. That contradiction, the love and the captivity, became the most painful paradox of Bo Derek's life. By the end of 1998, Bo Derek felt as if she had lost half of her soul. John Derek, the man who had entered her life when she was just 16, who had guided her, loved her, and also stirred endless controversy, passed away from heart failure. For over 2 decades, their relationship had been dissected and criticized by Hollywood, but to Bo, it was something sacred. When John died, she vowed never to love again. "I've already had the love of my life," she said softly, her voice carrying both serenity and a quiet loneliness. She withdrew from the spotlight, choosing peaceful days by the sea and nights filled only with the sound of wind and waves. Then fate opened an unexpected new chapter. In 2002, a close friend set her up on a blind date. At first, Bo reluctantly agreed. She no longer believed in love, or at least she no longer wished to begin again. But the man who showed up that day changed everything. He was John Corbett. The familiar face from Sex and the City with an easy smile and warm, expressive eyes. He simply needed a date for the Oscars, and she wasn't looking for anything. Yet when their eyes met, something gentle began to bloom. Not a sudden infatuation, but a calm, mature connection, as if both were finally ready for a softer, simpler kind of love. From that day on, they began talking, sharing stories, and gradually love found its way in, without grand promises or dramatic declarations. Corbett was 5 years younger than Bo, but the age gap never mattered. "He makes me laugh every day," Bo said in an interview, "and after everything I've been through, that's really all I need." They lived together for years before finally marrying in 2020, a late decision, but one that felt as natural as breathing. Today they reside on a sprawling ranch in California where horses graze lazily on the open fields and 3 German shepherds follow them everywhere. In the mornings, Bo tends to the horses while John makes coffee. At night, they watch movies together, often old classics, though rarely any of Bo's own.